All right, what's up, everyone? It is 3 p.m. here on the East Coast. Welcome back. My name is Jalen Vasquez. I am the community manager and events coordinator here for Freelancers Hub. Very excited to have the sixth episode of Faces of Freelance with you today. Before we begin, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Black Freelancers web directory on freelancersunion.org. If you are a Black freelancer, entrepreneur, or small business owner, and you would like to support Black businesses, definitely check out the directory. It's free to be a part of, and it's completely free to sign up. It's also a great way to support Black-owned businesses. You can check that out at freelancersunion.org. Now, let's get on with the show. So this is Faces of Freelance. For those of you who don't know, this is an Instagram live series where we showcase different members in the freelancing community and their journey as a freelancer. If you're ever interested in being part of this show, feel free to send us an email at info@freelancershub.nyc and have the subject line Faces of Freelance. We always try to see if we can get people of different industries and different backgrounds, different experience levels, and you can essentially share your knowledge, tell your story, and just share how you got to where you are today. So, and during this conversation with our guests that I will add on in a second, feel free to add any comments or questions that you may have in the chat below. We'll try to get to them as soon as we can or when appropriate. And I'm very excited to have our guest for this week. John Smalls, he's an industrial designer, multidisciplinary artist, and also a very good friend of mine. So give me 1 second. Let me get him on here. Hey, how's it going?
Oh,
Yeah, you may have to tell your camera a little bit down.
okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey,
how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Find a way to prop this up real quick.
Yeah, no problem.
It's funny because we did a test run earlier and it was no problem. Of course, everything at the last minute doesn't work.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. It happens.
Shit. Come on. All right, got it.
Cool.
Done.
All right, John, how's it going? How are you?
It's good, man. Good. It's nice to see
Awesome.
you. Shit.
You as well? You got it? You
All
managing?
Right. I'm good.
Just don't touch it.
Yeah, life is good. I can't complain.
That's good. Glad to hear that. So if you can, just tell us a little bit about yourself, just so our audience knows who you are, what you do, what you're about.
All right. My name's John Smalls. Technically I'm a graphic designer and visual artist. I'm transferring over to industrial design, so I'm fairly new to that. I've been doing it for about art and design of, I would say, maybe 22 years. It's definitely been over 20 years. And I worked in all sorts of areas in art and design. I'm pretty well versed, and that's mainly because I've been a freelancer for most of my career. You know, it's like I saw freelancing as like an opportunity to grow my portfolio versus just working for a company, you know, because I had day jobs off and on, but it was like freelance was how I actually built up my skills.
Gotcha. Was it like something that you always like envisioned, like straight out of high school, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna just do my own thing, maybe work off and on for a few companies, but just kind of continue doing what I want to
do? For me, it was like I went through many phases. Like in the beginning, it was like, you know, as an artist, you just like, I just want to work as an artist, right? So it's like comic books, and then it was painting, and then it was like, once I got into design, which was like, I would say early on, like once I was introduced to design, I was like, oh, that's where the money is. So I like left fine arts alone for a couple of years and just focused on design and just built my portfolio in that field for a while. And then when that gets tiring, I would always come back to fine arts, you know, and I've always been riding that wave. It's like, if I'm not doing design, I'm doing fine arts. If I'm not fine arts, it's design. It's always back and forth. Just, it's like, I see it as, that's the best way I felt to keep like my sanity as a designer, as an artist. It's like, just always working on something.
No, I totally agree with that. Like I'm always doing different things. It's just,
Yeah.
whether if it's long term, whether it's toys, graphic design,
Yeah,
illustrations.
exactly.
But yeah, I definitely get that. When you are going back and forth, do you sometimes just feel like, oh, I'm burnt out of design, I need to focus more on the art,
Yeah.
or vice versa?
Yeah, yeah. That's actually what brought me to industrial design. It's like I was working graphic design. I've been working graphic design for a long time. And I felt like there was very little I can do that was creative. Like people will hire me for jobs and they hired me to be creative in those jobs. But at the same time, I was only allowed to do one thing. And that gets tiring after a while. So after like 10 years, 15 years of doing that, it's not that you get burnt out, but it gets like you want to do more. So that led me to like start exploring different things and like really learning about the designers that I do like and why I like them. And then it just all of a sudden I just saw myself on a path like everybody I was interested in, they were all industrial designers. So I was like, all right, let me go research industrial design. And now I love it. I've always feel like industrial design is like the next level, the next evolution. Because it's like you could do so much as an industrial designer that graphic designers are like they don't even touch the surface.
Yeah. And I guess just for some of you who, or for some of our audience members who don't know what industrial design is, because it is a very vague, not vague, but a broad industry.
Yeah.
Um, what kind of drew you to that, or what does industrial design encompass? Like I know it's a
Well,
little bit of product,
industrial
but it can
design,
go further than that.
industrial design, I would say it's a mix between design, just designing everything, and engineering. So it involves a lot, but it's like you're just taking your idea from a 2D, like taking a graphic from a 2D graphic, and you're bringing it into a three-dimensional world. So it's like if I want to make a logo, but then I want to make a logo that will stand on top of the building, that's an industrial designer. It's like how do they make that? How do they make the logos on the top of a skyscraper work so it doesn't fall off? You hire an industrial designer because they'll make that happen. So it's like it's a mixture of all these things, and I think that's why I enjoy it so much because I already have the foundation of graphics, and then now I'm just evolving it to like the next plateau.
Gotcha. Damn, that sounds so similar to my background in architecture.
Yeah, yeah. See,
Yeah.
exactly. Like matter of fact, like I'm in the program right now, and I'm about to finish, and I want to continue on my studies. And one of my professors was like, I should go into architecture. And I was like, well, I don't want to design buildings. And he's like, no, he's like, architects are the top level of designers. He's like, you can be an architect and you can design damn near anything you want. It's not just buildings. And I was like, I didn't know that. And then I started doing some research and I was like, I found the school where they actually have the degree is called architecture technology, where it's not focused so much on the buildings, but on the functions of the buildings and the more, I guess, the intricacies of everything that goes into that. It's kind of a
Yeah.
mix, but it's less about the building design and more about just designing for these environments. It's at a City Tech actually.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know with architecture, it very depends on how the program is approached. I know we've had this conversation before personally, and
Yeah.
I've vented out to you about my frustrations with my degree and just kind of how it's approached, where it's more conceptual rather than practical.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, definitely, if it's focused more on the practical aspect, it can be very useful. I mean, yeah, like I'm not doing architecture now, but what I would say the skills I've learned from architecture, I can adapt that to other skills and what I'm doing now. So
That's
it's
all that
definitely
matters.
great. Yeah.
And like I think that's the main thing as a designer. Like I know you're busy all the time. And you're not busy because you went to school for architecture. You're busy because you love what you do, and you can bring those skills and then, yeah, maybe you studied architecture, but you can evolve those skills into something else. And I think that's what makes somebody like a good artist or a good designer. Is like you don't have to do just one thing. You can apply those skills to like everything else.
Yeah, it's a bit of the the thirst for knowledge or the thirst
Yeah.
for just trying to experiment and kind of see what works, or just kind of adapting? I don't know if adapting would be the right word, but just kind of exploring all around and see what you like to do.
My head keeps getting cut off. So I'm like, should I zoom in or zoom out?
No, you're good. I mean, you can just sit back, relax. I mean, you're fine. So when you were first starting out, was it difficult for you to navigate just the freelancing industry? Because
No.
freelancing, it's not something that people are taught. Like you just kind of see what works for you. And even now it's still new territory. It's becoming more somewhat mainstream with like the gig economy and things like that, but it's still like relatively new compared to an office job.
There's two types of freelancers I come across. There's freelancers like me who we're gonna do it no matter what because we don't like having a boss. We're not company men. And then there's people who freelance, but they treat it like a job. They treat it like a day job. They don't last. It's like they're the ones who like, yeah, you can't when you're a freelancer, it's like you're a business, right? Somebody hires you to do a business. But some people I see them and they're freelancers and they treat it like they're still an employee. And I'm like, that's not the purpose of freelancing.
Mm.
It's like that's not what it's about. And for me, it's like I started just because out of hunger. It's like I wanted, like I started in two places. I was working I started my career in San Antonio, and in San Antonio, I was just I just got my feet wet as an illustrator, as a designer. So I had a brief career, very very like basic stuff, right? Screen print type of shop. And then when I came to New York, I already knew I had experience, but I didn't have that New York experience. So I had to start all over. I had another day job working at like Starbucks. I was going to school. I was still working on my portfolio. And I knew like I was like, I don't want to work in Starbucks forever, but I was like, I have to get into the art scene somehow. And back then it was like, I didn't even think about it as a freelancer. I was just like, I need to take on every project that comes my way. And I I learned this from just doing my artwork in Texas. Like in Texas, when I was just starting up as a painter, I would carry around a little photo album. Because, back in the day, we didn't have social media the way it is now. So I would carry a photo album of my paintings. And anytime I would come across somebody anywhere, like whether I'm walking the street, just a party, I would pull it out. Like a little photo book I would carry in my back pocket. And I would show them my artwork. And that's how I just got into the art industry down there. And it was like, I made a bunch of portfolios at like Kinko's and the spiral bound books, just sent them and I mailed them out, left them all together. And it was that hunger from art, and I brought it to the New York design scene because I knew nobody was going to mess with me, right? Nobody's going to mess with me because I'm coming from Texas. I didn't graduate from one of these fancy New York art schools. So I was like, how can I get in? And the only way I could get in was I need work. And I started most of the work I've done in the beginning, most of the work I started with was like mixtapes, because mixtapes were big back then. In the early 2000s, everybody had a mixtape. They wanted a mixtape cover with all the airbrush, Photoshop, was it the plugins and all that, the bling and all that crap. I was doing that heavy. It was money, and I was like, okay, I'll do like whatever you throw at me. I'll do mixtapes, flyers, business cards, and then from there it was like, I knew web design, so I was like, who needs a website? You're putting out an album, you need a website. So I was like, I'll do your website, I'll do your album, I'll do your business cards, I'll do all your marketing, and then it was just like. I just kept it going. And then that gave me enough work. And then when I was able to get like a job interview, I would show all that stuff, even though it was crude, it was amateur, but I still could show like, yo, I did all of this. So they were like, okay, at least you know what to do and we'll hire you. And then once I got my foot in the door, I didn't stop that. I was like, okay, I got a corporate job now, or I got a day job that paid me a lot better, but I'm still going to hustle on the side. Because I was like, I'm not going to wait for them to give me projects. It's like they're giving me a check, but I still want to keep my skills sharp. So I always just like kept taking on projects, and just like sometimes I would get bored and I'm like, I don't want to do anymore, and I switch over to something else. But I would still like every now and then just do a job just to keep that window of opportunity open.
Yeah, damn, that's a lot of determination, and as a freelancer, you definitely need that to succeed. Like you can't, like you said, like you can't just wait around, have
Nah,
things come to you. You have to try to find it yourself.
you know,
Like,
like even now, like if people like now, I'm real picky about who I work for because I don't want to just I don't like my time is more valuable now. Like I don't want to get stressed doing like bullshit projects, right? So I'm real selective. But every now and then I'll do a project for somebody, or if I hear somebody like, oh, I'm looking for this, I'm like, you know, I'll do it just to again keep that window open. You know, I keep that door open. You know, I don't want to say I'm not going to work with everybody. You know, it's like you gotta gauge your clients. It's like you got corporate clients, and you need like little mom and pop shops. You know, the little
yeah,
independent people, and you can give you like a couple bucks, but it's still money. You gotta keep it open. You gotta keep everything like that circulating.
yeah. I think when you're at that point in your career where you can actually be selective about like the clients and the projects you can take, I feel like that's like you're just at that level where you're established, like you kind of found your footing, and it becomes a little bit surreal where you're just like, damn, I could actually be or have the privilege to pick who I want to work with and actually say no. Because some people, they struggle to find clients or they struggle to find whatever gig comes up, and they're forced to say yes to either crummy, low paying, or maybe clients who are a little bit difficult. I don't always recommend that to a lot of new freelancers. Like you do have to kind of put your foot down, but I do understand on the other hand
Yeah,
where you have to feed yourself.
you have to. It's like with everything. You know, you can't walk before you learn how to crawl. You know, you got to put in the work. Like regardless of whatever, whether it's fighting, whether it's sports, whether it's making money. You know, like you always have to do the grunt work. But you can't like I look at my career, I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for too long. There's certain things I cannot do because it's gonna look it's like it's not gonna look good. Like if I did like live painting, right? Like I
Mm.
did that before. I used to do live painting a lot and it was fun, you know, but now in my career I'm like, that's not a good opportunity for me. Not to look down on people who are doing live paintings, but if I want to request like a certain amount of money, nobody wants to see me. They don't want to pay a person doing live paintings a certain amount of money. You see what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like you're a business and you gotta manage how your business is being looked at. And if you want to like you have the toys, right?
Yeah.
So you do the pops and you do those toys, you customize those toys, and they're amazing. But at the same time, I don't see you doing like nonsense projects, right? Like how could I explain it? Like you're not doing these cheap little knockoff toys. You're doing like legit projects, and you're going to these legit events, these cons, right? These comic cons. Well, when we had them, you
Yeah.
would go to these cons and you will market yourself the correct way because you have a brand. Your brand can't be tarnished with like it can't be connected to nonsense. And I think as a freelancer, the earlier you understand that, the better it is. Like I wish early on I was selective. You know, like I can go through my portfolio and 75% of it is junk. It paid the bills because I was going after money, but a lot of it is junk. And I wish that I was more selective back then because then I would have a crazy portfolio right now. But
I feel
you
like,
know, you live and you learn.
yeah, I mean, I feel like just as any designer, like you look back at past works, whether if it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you're just like, damn, I produced this crap.
Yeah.
Like, like out of
Got a lot of
like
that.
just yeah, out of like retrospective, like you look back, it's like, why the hell did I do this? Or it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so when you started out, you're like really aggressive on finding clients. Do you still have similar tactics now when you try to find gigs and new clients, or are you a
Yeah,
little bit?
actually.
Do you have different, I guess, methods to
No,
approach
it's the
clients?
same applied. Matter of fact, I just had
Okay.
a conversation with my fiance about that because she was like, "How am I going to get jobs in industrial design?" You know, because I'm in graphic design right now and I want to transfer over to industrial design. So she was like, "How are you going to get jobs in industrial design with COVID?" And I was like, "Same way. You know, I have projects in my portfolio that I've been building for the last 2 years. So once I have all my projects polished off, have my site updated, I'm just gonna start doing. I'm not even gonna worry about doing getting hired for a company. I just want to build my portfolio doing professional gigs one at a time. Freelance. It's the same principle until I have enough freelance projects in my industrial design portfolio where I can level up a little bit. You know, so I'm using the same tactics, just in a different field.
Gotcha. Now, with switching to industrial design, I
Yeah.
know you've invested in a 3D printer, and you haven't really shut up about it a little bit. Has it eased your process, or kind of just like
Oh man, it's
changed the game for you in certain aspects?
I would say it made things a lot better. It's like it's one of those tools, because a lot of designers are conceptual. A lot of that, what I mean by that is a lot of people come up with great ideas and they put them down on paper, and they can do the 3D model, and they can do the rendering, and they can draw it. It's conceptual, but a lot of those products never come to life. With a 3D printer, I have the opportunity to take whatever I'm creating, like design wise, and bring it to life in a functional 3D manner. It'll be on a smaller scale, obviously, but I can print out a mock-up that's pretty much accurate to the real thing. And having that at my disposal, it makes you think a little differently when you're creating things. Like my designs are a little bit more polished now ever since I had the 3D printer. Because now I'll think about, okay, well, I know off back, like looking ahead, I'm like, okay, well, if I design this box with these ridges, that's not going to print on a 3D printer. So if it's not going to print on a 3D printer, it might not print on the factory. Maybe I should change it. Maybe I should bevel it a little bit. And then I'll send it out to the printer. And all these things I've learned just by dealing with the 3D printer. It's made me a better designer. So it's like, I think it's like one of the best tools I purchased next to the iPad in recent years.
And what do you think, I guess, like with 3D printing, like it has made just the production aspect a lot easier for a lot of people, like other designers, whether if it's like toys or functional like products for productivity or sustainability. It's so much easier. How far do you think 3D printing will get to?
I mean,
because I know they're 3D printing houses too, to an extent.
Yeah, I love that. You know, there's a documentary on Apple TV I was watching called Home, and they have a guy down in Mexico who just like, he has a gigantic 3D printer and he's printing out the stucco, and it's a beautiful community where they're giving these houses to underprivileged. And it's a lot of things like that where it's like you can use 3D printing for making homes, which is a great idea. You can use it for manufacturing. Instead of having like a $3,000 sample that you have a company make, you could just make it yourself, like print out as many as you want till you find a great sample and then send it to manufacturing. So it's going to cut costs. Mm-hmm. They're already using 3D printers for food, which is insane. You know, the same way it prints out the plastic is printing out actual food. I went to an exhibit at what was it? The design museum near the Met. I forget the name, but yeah, it's a design museum. It's a little bit up from the Guggenheim.
Okay,
I forget the name. It's a house, but anyways, it's a design museum. I went there last year, and they had an exhibit on all 3D printing manufacturing, which is amazing. And they had like everything from airplane parts to housing communities to artificial bones.
Damn.
Like legit bones. And I'm talking like the density was insane. They had it's this new thing called biomimicry they were using. It was damn near endless, you know, and we're like in a fourth industrial revolution. So if you're not in tech and you're not in some sort of 3D printing or 3D manufacturing, you're going to get left behind. It's what we're all going to evolve and start using at some point.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And even like now I saw a video, like you can 3D print metal too now. It's like, it's not just plastic.
There's metal, there's wood. There's all types of different filaments that people can use. You know, I wouldn't recommend all that stuff, but you know, to test out, it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say it's limitless, but I've seen somebody 3D print an entire motorcycle.
Damn.
A fully functional like legit motorcycle, wheels, all the parts, and it worked. It was for a trade show.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're approaching levels of science fiction soon.
No, we're there. with the plague and everything. You know, it's like first 3 chapters done. You know? We're in the middle part now.
So I want to move on and talk a little bit about money. How did you figure out how to price your work? Because like with I guess your different like ventures of design and as an artist, like you have to price it differently and competitively. So how did you figure out how to price yourself appropriately and not undersell yourself or oversell yourself?
To be honest with you, that's something I didn't really come across until like maybe 4 years ago.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, man. It was like it's an up and down thing because let's be honest, as a freelancer, sometimes you're not gonna have clients. And you're gonna have to go back to resorting to like those $50, $100, $200 jobs, you know, the bullshit jobs, just because that's what it is. And you have to do a lot of those. So there was a time when it was like I had my price points, and then it was like, well, people will tell me, well, I'm only going to pay you this, and you got to take it. And then after a while, I was like, well, if I'm really going to do this, if I'm really going to like be a freelancer, right? This is my career. Then I have to set in stone my prices and not deviate from that. And that's kind of tricky because you have to it's like you have to be stern with people, and you got to tell them like, this is how much it's going to cost. This is how much I charge. Period. Like if you can't afford it, that's on you. I don't like. No sad stories. And I got to that point, and then ever since I like went over that hill and I was able to like have the confidence to tell people, no, these are my rates. This is how much it's gonna cost. Like no more revisions. Like, and I stood, it's like you gotta have a little bit of confidence. It was easy after that. But getting to that point, it was more me and less, it was like more me being confident rather than like the people. If that makes sense. Yeah. So once I figured out,
it totally makes sense.
Okay, I have a day rate. Like once I figured out I have to have a day rate, an hourly rate, which is based off the day rate, and that is all based off the salary that I want to achieve. Then I can tell people with confidence, this is how much this costs, right? And with painting, it's a little bit different. But I found the formula, I don't want to say I found it, but I came across a documentary where they were talking about the price of paintings, and it made sense to me, so I use that as my formula now. And I might add, you know, a little bit more to it, but I'll start with this number, and that it deals with like the size of the canvas, the time that I'm putting into it, and you know, it's a little formula, mathematics, and it gives me a number to work with.
Gotcha. Yeah, one of my friends who I used to work with at Blick, I asked him how much he priced his projects, and he said something. I don't remember the exact equation, but it was like the longest length of like the physical painting. It was like half the width. Sorry, I don't know what just happened. My phone kind of stopped.
Good?
Can you hear me? Yeah,
okay.
We should be okay.
Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, so he had like this weird equation where it was like the longest length of the painting and like half the width, and there's like a third number add on. And that was like how he factored his price for paintings.
I mean, you can do that. Like the one I like with artwork, it's like you take the dimensions by the inch, right? So let's say like you have a 23 by 15 canvas. You times that number together, and then whatever you get, you multiply that by either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And you like, so say like you charge $5 per inch. So you have the 23 by 14 inch canvas, you multiply that together, then you times that by $5. Some people times it by 10. It's going to give you a high number. That's why I'd say I use it as a guide, but it also depends on the client, who my client is. If they're corporate, of course I'm gonna charge more, but if they're just like an independent person, I'm not going to give them a crazy number. That's ridiculous. But I use that as my basis now.
Yeah. No, I do something similar for clients. Like if it's more like established company that maybe it's a little bit bigger, I'll charge a lot more than just like a local store like on the avenue by me for whatever project.
I've worked for companies where I undercharge, And that can also hurt you too, because it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, I should charge you like several thousand, you know, instead of like a couple hundred. I'm
Yeah.
serious. It's like, because they have money to burn.
Oh no, for sure. Like I would say, when working with larger companies, it's a little bit better to oversell, not like
Yeah.
ridiculously a high amount, but just to oversell a little bit, just
Yep.
so it's just not like you're shooting yourself in the foot later.
Mm-hmm.
Do you diversify your income at all?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to. You got to diversify your funds. No, you
How?
have to. I feel like you got to have at least, if you want to make it in this world, like, not even in this world, like, as far as I know, everybody I know in New York has at least 2 jobs. The only people I know who don't have 2 jobs is the ones who have like a crazy salary and they don't need 2 jobs. Most people I know have 2 jobs in New York because it's like you just got to hustle like that. You know, if you want to get ahead, you want to stay above water, you want to live comfortably, you need 2 jobs or 2 hustles. And the more the more opportunities you have to earn an income, the better you'll be. So it's like, I read this thing a while ago. It was like, I think Warren Buffett said it. He was like, you need 7 streams of income, whether it's your day job, investments, digital store, you know, Society 6 or Big Cartel or something. Just the more you have, the better. It doesn't mean like everyone is going to sell or you're going to make money all the time, but at least it's an outlet where you can make money from it if you need to.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. Like when you occasionally see, like you have an online store and you just see a random sale, like at a random time
Yeah.
of day. It's like, oh, that's nice.
It's also validating too.
It is. It is.
You know, like when even if you get like 1 sale in a month, it's like somebody out there appreciates my work. I'm doing it right, you know? Because sometimes you'd be like, is this good? I'm not selling. And then you get that sale and you're like, yeah, I'm doing all right. You know, it's 1 sale in like a year, but you're like, I sold something. You know, it can help you keep going.
Do you use any sites right now to sell, or is it just?
I closed all my other sites. The only one I have up right now is my Big Cartel, and I just signed up for Imprint, so they approved me, and I'm going to use that only for prints from now on, and then I'll use my Big Cartel for like collectibles and pins and patches and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Then again, Diversify, right? Like
Yeah.
prints, and then like, so that's 2 stores right there.
Yeah. Is Imprint better than Society 6? I remember we briefly had the conversation, but we didn't really go into it the other day.
The quality is better and the prices are better, I would say. I'm not endorsing either one, but from what I read, the numbers, Imprint is a lot better. They give a big percentage back to the artist. They're not taking like a huge chunk. So you're gonna make money if you do sell prints. So that's a good thing. And then the quality is like, that's all they do is sell prints. They sell prints and then maybe like cell phone cases, but that's it. Like Society 6 has like
Everything.
a gazillion objects. And it's like,
Yeah.
like I was on it the other day, and tell you, I didn't even really see art. I saw more like housing decorations.
I can see that. Yeah.
I think they're going away from like just art and just focusing on like decorative patterns and stuff. I don't know. It just gave me a different vibe than it had before.
Yeah. Because I was looking into Society 6 and someone told me they don't really take, or they don't really, or you don't really take a lot away from it. But on the other hand, they are doing all the work for you, and you pretty much just upload an image. They'll stick that image onto pretty much anything and everything you can think of on Society 6.
They're getting more than 75%.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
you don't really
man.
you don't really get a lot compared to.
I remember I had like 1 month I actually sold a few items, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get it, and it was like, it was chump change what I got back, and I think I sold like 6 items. I was like, this isn't cool. You know, I'm not. It's not motivation.
Yeah.
And I get it. They're packing, printing, and shipping, but still,
Yeah.
there has to be some type of balance.
Artists are already struggling.
Exactly.
What was I going to ask? Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on? Whether if it's design or art?
I guess I thought about this. You know, I don't have a favorite project per se, but like I train jujitsu. So when I see guys wearing stuff that I designed for jujitsu companies, and I did like this stuff like years ago, but they'll still wear it. I kind of get a kick out of that, especially when they don't know me, you know, and they're wearing something like with my name or my logo on it. I'm like, and it's my artwork and my graphic, and I'm like, that's cool. They have no idea who I am, and I'm like, you're wearing my stuff with my name on it. It's like, yeah, you know, I get a kick out of that.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That's always a nice feeling. I've had a similar experience at Comic-Con once. I was in line to meet one of the Power Rangers to give him some pops that I made. And the guys, I think next to me or behind me or wherever, just somewhere adjacent to me, he saw it. He was like, oh, like what's that? Can I see it? I showed it to him. And he was like, oh, I saw that on like Facebook or whatever. Like the guy who makes them, like he just posted like a few days ago. I was like, yeah, that's me. So that was a little bit of a funny moment. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always nice to see other people like appreciating or just supporting your work, whether how little or how large it can be. It makes you feel good, like as an artist and designer.
It's uplifting, you know. It's like I said, it's not that we're out there trying to get people's approval, but it is validating when you can see someone have your product and they're appreciating it, you know, and they really enjoy it, and it's like, yeah, it's like I did a good thing, you know, I'm on the right path.
Yeah. So I know your work personally, and for our listeners who don't know, for your paintings and illustrations, it can deal with things of jujitsu, some things of everyday life, sometimes a little bit about politics, a little bit about family and fatherhood. I just want to go over like what drew you to that. Like, what's your inspiration? I guess is the better question.
Like when it comes to fine art, right? Let's say fine art. I don't know if it's fine art or visual art, but it's fine art. When it comes to fine art, it's I only do stuff that's personal to me. You know, I like even with politics, like I went through a big political phase prior to like 9/11, you know, and my artwork was like very blunt. And, you know, that changed after 9/11. My views kind of changed. And now I'm getting back into that more editorial work over the last couple of years. You know, I've been obviously inspired, right?
Yeah.
By the events that are happening. But at the same time, I'm not just making work where it's just like a father and a son or a family or, you know, I to me, it's good work. That's nice work to do. It's good exercise, but it doesn't say anything. So whenever I do a piece, I always try to make it like, especially the stuff I'm going to show people, right? Like the stuff I'm going to put on my website, my portfolio, or social media. I want it to at least say something versus just like a picture of a chick. You know, I want it to be like, I want people to get like an emotion from it. So I tend to, you know, just go from my personal experiences, whether I see somebody on the street or see somebody in Midtown or something I've thought about during the day. I'm like, all right, let me try to relate to that and just let it out. Like a lot of times, like I think I did like 3 pieces recently and they weren't polished at all. You know, they weren't like clean. It was just like, I was feeling something. I grabbed my pens and markers and I just like, let it out. You know, don't clean it up. Don't worry about the mistakes. Cause I was in one of those artistic emotional moments, right? So I was like, I have to let this out. And however it is when I'm done, that's it. Don't revise it. Just leave it in the moment. And they were my best, but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed that process. Cause I think like a lot of times as a painter, I can get caught up in technique. And that's the design side of me, right? The design side of me has all these rules and it's like, it has to be like this, and this. But the painter side, I'm like, you got to just let it out. Just don't worry. It doesn't have to be polished. It's just get it on canvas, get it on paper, just put it out there.
Yeah. That's just your mind battling itself essentially of what you should or shouldn't be doing.
Constantly. Like the design rules is like, it's endless. And it makes my artwork, like a lot of people always comment on my work and say like, I like your old stuff better, or your old stuff was more expressive, because it was. You know, I didn't have all the design rules in my head. I was just a young painter, just getting crazy with it. So those rules is like, they're good, but they also can like, they can mess you up. It's like, as an artist, you have to be expressive. You got to put the emotion out there. You can't, like, some people can get away with being clean and nice lines or nice shading, and that ain't me. That's not me.
Were there any like resources that you came across that could be, whether like if it's books, shows, podcasts, anything and everything, that you thought was a game changer that has either changed your work or just improved your work? And that could be whether if it's strictly like pragmatic or more like behind the scenes improvement.
I can name one game changer for real. And there's been other things, like being around other artists. I've learned so much from being around other artists. There was one time where I was apprentice, or I was trying to do the apprentice thing in a tattoo shop. And I was only there for like 3 months. And it was crazy place to work. But I learned a lot, man, that even because it was so much repetition of just drawing and composition and line work. It was like, and that stuck with me to this day. But because I know how I was prior to that moment, and then how it was after. And I was like, it was such a brief time, 3 months, but it made an impact on me. But I would say like the biggest influence?
Either if it was like the greatest influence or just improvement of just either your craft or like how to manage yourself as a freelancer in general.
I would say the biggest influence on just me as an artist and designer was going to Tokyo.
Okay.
Like going to Japan. Like I've like, we all know Europe and we all know European art, you know, and I know you lived in Europe, you know, and I've been to parts of Europe, but I don't know, that artwork, it doesn't inspire me. When I went to Tokyo the first time, for me, that was like, it like to this day, it changed me on how I look at everything from art, design to fashion. That even sparked the idea for me to get into motorcycles at the time. Because going over there, I saw people completely in different types of motorcycles that I didn't see here in the States, you know, and seeing so many people on motorcycles and scooters over there. I went to like the bookstore, and they have bookstores all over the place, and they have massive bookstores too, and magazine stores. So I went there, and I'm just checking out the motorcycle section. That was the first time I was like, I'm into motorcycles, you know. And then it was like art and the illustration and then the animation, and going over there, seeing the calligraphy all over the place, because everybody's an artist because they have to do the calligraphy, they have to do the katakana and the hiragana and all that. So everything is art, and just being in that environment and soaking it up, it was like, it just lit a switch, man. It was like, and I bought a bunch of books on my first trip there, and then I think the second trip I bought a bunch of toys, but I still have the books to this day because the books are just like, even though it's a different language, it's just filled with so much visual information.
Yeah. No, definitely Tokyo and Japan are definitely on my list at some point. Not too sure when, especially. Oh,
as a toy collector,
I think I will.
You're gonna go broke.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably go broke just from the ticket, but yeah.
There's just, it's like, speaking of toys, there was an area I went to where I think it was a computer area, Akihabara or something. And it's like a tech area, right? But then there was like, I remember going into these stores. Oh no, I know which area it was. It was the area with like all the manga and stuff. So I'm going to the area, they have all these comic shops, right? And then I go into one shop and they just have like all these toys all over the place, cool stuff, but like all the stuff that was like from my childhood. But it wasn't like old and vintage. It was like, it looked brand new. I was like, and they had like the little muscle figures. I don't know if you remember those, but it's like these little muscle toys. It was like, they had all these things that I was like, y'all still make this stuff? But it was like brand new packaging. It just blew my mind. I was like, just so much stuff was there. And it was just, it's just constant inspiration. It's like everywhere you look, it was just art, something beautifully designed or beautifully modeled or decorated or just assembled. And it was like, Jesus, man.
No, yeah, for sure. Like even like if you look at like Japanese developers for video games, like Capcom, like specifically, a lot of their
Konami.
design, yeah, Konami, a lot of their designs, it's just so intricate. It's very like I always wonder what are these guys on that they can think of designs like this? Like if you look
Uh-huh.
at some things like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta,
Yeah.
um, just like you see like some of these monster and creature designs, and
Hmm.
it's like a mix of organic and just like intricate shapes and geometry. It's just like, geez. But hey, it's just what the Japanese can
Whole nother
do.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That I would say that changed me a lot. That was my biggest like, and then it got me into like the way I painted, and then not using like a whole lot of color in my work, because I started like from there I started reading about Japanese tattoos, and then I read this thing where a tattoo is supposed to be like 70% black ink and then 30% color. So now when I do my artwork, I keep it because I'm colorblind, right? So I can't see colors the way everybody else sees it. And I went through the phases of trying to learn how to match colors. So once I read that, I started applying that to my work, to my paintings. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep it one tone and then add like spots of color here and there, and it's been working.
Hey, if it works, it works. So.
Yeah,
So we've been in quarantine for what, eight,
9 months.
8 months, 9 months? Damn.
Yeah.
Oh crap. 9 months now. Has COVID affected your work at all?
I'm busy. I'm working more. You know, I'm working from home. That's a lot better. I used they had me go into the office a couple times during the week just to have people show up, and it was like, what's the point? I'm in an office, a gigantic office by myself. And I was like, I'll just stay at home,
Yeah.
and I get more done. I get more done. Like I can do 8 hours of work in like 4 hours because I have like no interruptions. I have nobody sending me random emails. Like even the emails have slowed down now, because nobody's wasting their time doing nonsense anymore. It's just like I think
Yeah.
work for me has been more efficient, and then more. I definitely put in more hours, but it's I don't know. I guess it's been a good experience for me. I
Have you
can't
gotten
complain.
have you gotten cabin fever at all?
Yeah, that happens. It's like, but I either I go for a bike ride or go for a run or go for a walk, but I gotta, because I'm a hermit. Once I lock down into art mode, it's hard to leave.
Yeah.
I'm in the zone. Once I'm here and it's like I'm working, it's like I could work for like 10 hours on all sorts of stuff. I'll just bounce back and forth. So it's like being home, I notice I do that a lot more. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to go out for a walk. I gotta go out for a bike ride. I gotta go out and see the sun at least one time today. Because if not, it's like I'll just stay in here and I'll just work throughout the night. And it's like that's not good. It's
Yeah.
bad for your health.
I definitely feel that, and then like I'll be in the zone. The next thing I know, it's 3 a.m. It's like shit.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. Like, well, I did stuff, but like I didn't leave this chair for however many hours.
Like today, I rode my bike down to Blix, and it was a weird experience because I put on all this clothes because I was like, oh, it's cold outside.
Wasn't that bad out?
No, I was sweating. It was so hot. And I'm riding my bike, and I'm like, what the hell? Because I don't go outside on a regular side. I just assumed it was cold, and I was like, it's fucking hot outside.
Yeah. Well, it
So I go to the
was.
store, and I'm just drenched.
Yeah, it was freezing like 2 days ago. So.
Yeah, it's so like, I don't know. I can't. It's November. The weather is wacky.
Yeah.
COVID's happening. I just read an article that they're trying to make ape brains bigger to make them
Oh yeah,
smarter.
yeah.
That was in a post. I was like, come on.
My dad sent me that, and he was just like, "Do they not learn anything from movies?" Like,
What's it's like they're trying to do everything they can for 2020.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
take all these movies and throw them together.
Yeah, he's waiting for the apes to fight Terminators and future Skynet, which is most likely Apple right now or
I just want
Tesla.
Pacific Rim and Independence Day. Aliens and robots, man. That's it.
Pacific Rim is great. Second one wasn't as good, but first Pacific Rim is really good.
Eh,
I mean, they got the working Gundam in Japan, so we're almost there.
That's true. Life size too.
Yeah, life-size
Yeah.
Gundam. If it's gonna go to space, I don't know. We'll see. Elon Musk is gonna fly over, give them some
So much going
rocket
on right
power.
now. It's like, what the hell, man? Crazy times. Crazy times.
Yeah. So we have about 10 minutes left before
All right.
Instagram is a little bit iffy, and we'll cut the stream since they only
All
allow
right.
an hour for the live stream.
Sure.
I have a few more questions.
Okay.
What has been your biggest obstacle as a freelancer?
The biggest obstacle is, I would say, getting people to pay you. I was going to say finding work, but I think finding work is easier than getting people to pay you. That's hard. You got to make sure like you're on top of it, man, because people will do their best not to pay you.
Yeah,
So it's
definitely.
like you got to establish it. You got to establish yourself up front. Like, this is how much I call. This is how much I want, and this is when I want it. You know, so it's like if you're not going to pay me, then you got to be ready to, like, whether it's legal actions or send emails and harass them, but you got to be ready to do that. And it's like I don't have it. It hasn't happened as much as I know a lot of people who haven't gotten paid for gigs. Luckily, I haven't experienced that a lot. It's been like one or two clients my whole career, but it happens. It happens, and when it does, it can mess you up because you're waiting on that money. You know.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I've never had to experience that, but like you, I've known a lot of people who have experienced that, and it is crappy. And I'll see a few people that they're, especially more towards like when they're starting out, they're more concerned about being liked, I guess, as opposed to putting their foot down,
Yeah.
and just being assertive and kind of demanding like, hey, like you need to pay me, as
That's
opposed
what I
to
was saying
just
about confidence. You know, like you need that confidence. There was a time when I quit like a corporate job I had because I was trying to be a company man. You know, I was working on promotion, got the promotion, they screwed me over, didn't get the pay. So I was like, I'm done. You know, I quit, flat out walked out. And like I think I didn't go back to like a stable income for like maybe 3 years. But in those 3 years, you know, I went through, I mean, like I lost everything because I was like, I want to not take on side projects. I really want to establish myself as a freelancer. And this was like towards the middle of my career. So it was like, you know, I'm already established designer, but it was like the one thing I had to learn was I have to be confident. You know, it was more, I think that was the moment where I learned more business than skill. Where it's like, at some point, your skill no longer matters. It's like, people know you can do the job. You have to be a business person. You have to be a stern business person. And like those 3 years of just like, I lost damn near everything. Even my apartment, you know, at one point. Because it was like, I was trying to do this so bad. And then towards the end of the 3 years, it finally like things picked up. And it was like, I remember I was reading like Inc. magazine, the INC, the business magazine. I was reading that. I was reading Fast Company and I was reading Entrepreneur magazine and like really like paying attention to like their business articles and how to establish yourself and how to do business and how to negotiate. Even though it's not a design related magazine, the principles of how to handle your money with clients, I was soaking it all in, man. I was like, if I'm going to go to the next level, then I need to evolve in some aspect.
Yeah, and that's pretty much just all freelancing. Like you have to be every person in a business to do all that. So, yeah. I was going to ask if you had any words of wisdom for aspiring freelancers, but I feel like you kind of just hit the nail on the head already a second ago about confidence and kind of just learning everything in the business side of it and figuring out like how to negotiate.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You definitely got to believe in yourself. You can't, like, don't worry about your family or your peers, and like really truly be confident and believe in yourself, and not like the foolishness shit. Like, oh, I'm God. Like, not all that.
Not the Kanye level of confidence.
Yeah, just have confidence in your work. You know, stand on something, and then like trust your instincts. Like, have a clear head. Don't be drunk, and don't ever, like, I never talk business when someone's drinking, ever. I don't care who you are. It's like, I don't like, talk to me when you're sober, not in, like, let's talk when you have a clear head. Like, because you, like, just, you have to do those things. You have to make sure, like, your instincts and your mind is sharp and your focus, and then handle your business.
Definitely agreed. All right, so we have a few minutes left. Before
Okay.
I give any closing remarks, where can people find you? Whether social media, websites,
They
anything
can find
like
me
that.
at, website is johnsmalls.com. Social media, pretty much the main sites would be like John X Smalls, X in the middle, John X Smalls. That's it, or just Google my name. I'll come up. But yeah, johnsmalls.com has a link to everything that I want. So if you want to see like my visual arts, you want to see my design work, you want to see the figure that Jason made of me, you can see it on that site too.
You just call me. You just call me my dad's name.
What's your father's name? Aren't you taller than him?
You're gonna. I mean, he'll never say that, but probably not.
He's gonna stab me for that.
Oh man. Yeah. That's a good way.
The facial hair.
Yeah. If anything, yeah, it's the facial hair. This is as much facial hair I've ever grown in life. So.
Got the whole artsy look.
Yeah, the hips, the Brooklyn hipster look.
Yeah, your parted beard.
Oh man.
You're like an art pirate.
That is terrible. Anyway, so we are at about time. Thank you so much for joining us, John, on this episode 6. Yeah, episode 6, Faces of Freelance. We hope
it's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, we hope our listeners had a lot of good insights through your journey and just kind of learning vicariously through your experiences. Hopefully, we'll see you again soon at future events, or I don't know. Hopefully, I'll see you around at some point soon. I know we're pretty far apart from. I see in comments, a fellow friend of ours is just laughing. But anyway. But yeah, hopefully we see each other soon. I know we live far apart. You're in Harlem. I'm all the way in Brooklyn. It's like a 2-hour train ride, but we'll figure something out when hopefully the second wave goes away and we're not in yellow and red zones anymore.
Yeah.
But thank you all for everyone who's listening and tuning in. Feel free to follow us at NYC _hub and check our website, freelancershub.nyc, for all of our events. Everything's completely free. We have various different events for freelancers, whether if it's for marketing, branding, finances, you name it, we're here for you. And join us next time on Faces of Freelance. And have a good weekend.
Peace.